Benji Cole, son of Al Cole from CBS Radio and host of the syndicated talk show, People of Distinction. The talk that gives you an in-depth view of some of the most dynamic, intelligent, and successful people on the planet. Run to our website, alcoleenterprises.com for more info. Email me through benji@alcoleenterprises.com if you'd like to get involved with what we have going. And as always, please continue to like and follow our broadcasts. People of Distinction is internationally syndicated solely due to the love and support that you all continue to give. We're available across all major distributors, and as long as you keep following, we're going to continue to put out the content. Now sit back and strap in, because on the line with us today, we have the impressive Skyler Raye. Now we're going to be discussing her amazing book, Facing Face. It's available for purchase through Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and a whole host of other places, people. I'm telling you, simply type it into a search bar, and you're going to be greeted with all of it. And I'm going to tell you why you need to do that in just a moment. Before we go any further, I want to take this opportunity and point out the fact that Skyler was brought to us today by one of the best publishing firms in the business. People you already know. I'm talking about Citi of Books. So for my writers out there who have gone through their process and now you need some help moving some of your creative endeavors, you got to contact Citi of Books, people. This is exactly what they specialize in. Head on over to citiofbooks.com and gather all the ways that their fantastic team is going to help you do just that. And listen, it is a true pleasure to have Skyler here on the line. People, her book, Facing Face, man, it is going to be... It is going to be a journey that you're going to be taking, one of pure resilience. It really will tell the story from the glitz of Hollywood to the grit of rebuilding a shattered life. Her journey is a testament to the resilience of the human spirit, and this is such a powerful memoir that you are going to be able to learn and build from. Trust me when I tell you, we're going to scratch the surface here today, but this is going to be one that is remarkably compelling and one you're going to need to add to your shelf. Sit back, strap in. Skyler, first and foremost, welcome to People of Distinction, and thank you very much for being a guest. How are you today?
I'm well, thank you. I appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely. Listen, we're looking forward to this. I think your story is remarkable, and there's always something to be gained, I feel, from authors who have written memoirs, right? We know life is filled with adversity. Life is filled with challenges, and through those experiences, we acquire wisdom. Well, the benefit of having someone that has written a memoir, in this instance like yourself, we're able to learn from your journey, and we can empower ourselves and be able to build from it. So I'm looking forward to the gift that this is going to be. First and foremost, this is a memoir, so we're going to cover your background anyway. Let's jump right in. Facing Face. Tell us more about your background as well as what ties it into this book, since this is a memoir.
Yes, I grew up in the Pacific Northwest, had two brothers, grew up on a small farm, moved to Portland, Oregon, started a business, a very successful one, and then I also worked in for movie sets. I was in the union studio mechanics, and I did that up until I fell on set of one of the movies I was working on, and my whole life changed.
Wow. So, Skyler, let's go a little bit more in depth with that. I mean, I know this memoir talks about, I guess to use an adage here, right? The falling from greatness, right? A fall from greatness here. Well, that has a different perception based upon each individual. So I'm curious to know, what was that fall from greatness for you? And how has your definition of greatness evolved since your life took this dramatic turn?
Oh, that's a great question. Well, like I said, I owned my own business. I was very successful. I was, doing movies and running my business at the same time, owned my own house. Everything was good. And then while I was working on set of The Hunted, I fell backwards up some brick stairs and sustained a traumatic brain injury and all but broke my neck. And my whole life dissolved. I lost my house. I lost my business. I lost my friends. And I went on a journey that is it's just almost unbelievable to me. But the thing I learned along that journey was that I wasn't 100% person to start with. Even before I was broken, I was broken. And I feel today more whole than I ever did before I was broken. And that has a lot to do with God. I found God during this time of my life. And I had just a real raw conversation and relationship with him. It's like, if you're God, then, and I would ask him pointedly, then you send me one of your friends, because my friends suck. And my phone rang, and it was a friend to this day I have. Says, I met you, I thought maybe you'd just like to have a friend. And I'm just, and so then I was upset with him for scaring me like that. But as I evolved and I became more and more whole, I got off all the drugs that the doctors had gotten me on. The only time I was ever a drug addict in my life was from the doctors. And it's the things that I learned through this is that the things that we can really count on. I say now that I had the luxury of getting to know myself. I think falling was one of the best things that ever happened to me. It stopped me from the path I was going on, because it probably was leading me someplace that wasn't good. I totally trust and believe in God now. And I also believe that we're much stronger than any of us knows.
Yeah.
We can really do this. But people, they start off defeated. People give up right when they're at their lowest. I mean, if I'm going to give up, I'm going to give up when I'm on top. At least I'll be someplace good, And but I just learned so much. I was 3 years in everyday therapy. I had 7 therapists. And the people that I met through that time and the things that I learned were so important in making a whole person of me, And I think there's too many people out there that just aren't whole people. They're my grandma used to say, you don't want a relationship that's 50-50. You want one that's 100-100. And I'll tell you what, that we'd have a lot less problems in the world, I think, if we worked on ourselves to become 100% before we got with anyone else. And, just things like that.
Skyler, I love what you just said, man. So many things that you just dropped on us were absolute gems. And just to cap on that last part, in terms of people, listen, you've all heard it before. So I'm preaching to the choir here, but when you think about any particular relationship that you're in, right? And I know it's commonly used with loving relationships between significant others. And the adage is like, you can't love anyone else until you've learned how to fully love yourself and what you are able to cultivate and bring to the table. And I think that's such a powerful message. But going back even further, Skyler, you said something that I thought was so crucial and a great piece of advice in terms of how the fall, this incident in your regard might have been one of the best things that happened to you. And I feel what you're getting at, how I interpret that. Because again, as I mentioned, obstacles are obstacles, challenges are challenges, but they're going to vary based upon the individual, right? They're all as unique to you. So you're the only one that is fighting the fight that you have. But the message here can really be copied and pasted across everything. So you're talking about really shifting perspective. You had all of these things, but once you lost some of that material things, at first, it may have been daunting. It may have been very scary. But through such an experience, you were able to be gifted such a reward by having this relationship established, right? You talked about your faith, and I think that a lot of people can relate to that. So let's stick here for a second. Let's go a little bit more in depth. Looking back, do you feel that losing those things also freed you in a certain way? And if so, how?
Absolutely. Well, we get so busy. The more money we make, the busier we are. And the more things we go do, the more friends we have. And I was just right in the middle of all of that. I was just succeeding at everything, and everything was great. My future looked so bright. But the morning that I fell, I had just sold my contracts to my business because I was going to be able to go to Spain with another movie after this one. And I want to keep my business, but not have the be tied down with the contracts. And my realtor called me and told me that it was sold. And I was thinking wow, I really made it. I'm going to Spain. I'm going to get all this. And I remember thinking right before I got the call on my radio, "Greens, we need you at the camera," I thought I'd be happier than this. And that's the last thought that I remember before I fell. And which is odd to me, but because that's just honestly what came to my mind. And then as I went along and finding out the things that I have now, self-worth, I have, I get up every morning, with a purpose,
Yeah.
For a long time, as a child, I had a diary as well, and I would write letters to God. In fact, in the book, my book is just literally my journal. It really is, for the most part. 90% is just right out of my journal. And I remember as a child, after I was about 18, and I took all those journals, and I burned them on the beach because they were so sad. And I wanted to forget about all that, and I just went off and made myself become very successful. Well, I found in my book, I write letters to God. I'm like, constantly writing letters because I thought that's the relationship I had. Well, it got down to where I needed more than letters. I had to, just put myself on the line. So if you're there, let me know, and he does. I'm telling you, every time I've ever been that serious with anything, God has never let me down. I mean, there's no way. There's things that happen in the book that just are unbelievable. I had some experiences with angels, and I believe with all my heart that's what they were. Just a lot of things, different things happened that proves to me that God was with me all the time, both before I became whole and now, all the way through now. And I just keep getting more, like you said, great prizes from this, from believing and from just being persistent about going and just doing the right thing. And, and I think that's what people don't do mostly. They don't do the right things. They do the easy things.
Right.
And so,
absolutely.
I think that it's really important that we do that. I think that we're all going to be accountable for what we do and say. And I think that we're on this earth for the people in our lives more than anything.
People, again, we're here on the line with Skyler Raye. We're discussing her book, Facing Face. You got to pick it up through Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and a lot of other places. I'm telling you, this is such a transformative memoir that is really going to add so much to your life. Head on over there today, pick up your copies. I want to transition now and go a little bit into the writing process. These experiences that you had, listen, I'm sure we've barely scratched the surface, right? There's a lot more found on those pages. And I know that going through all of this was a journey, some days better than others. And that journey hasn't ended, right? I mean, it's still, even to today, you wake up every single day with another fight to put forward. And that, in a way is just life, right? As we go through. Well, dealing with it and going through the process physically is one thing, but writing this book, I mean, within it, I'm assuming, you had to revisit all of these things again. You had to relive these experiences again. Talk to us about this writing process. Would you say that this writing process of creating this memoir, was it more cathartic or maybe even terrifying? And how did you balance sharing your story while protecting your privacy?
Wow. Well, see, this book actually came out in 2011. A friend of mine that knows my life, she came to me and said, "Oh, we've got to let me turn your book into, or your journal into a book." I had a brain injury. Honestly, I would have said, if I hadn't, I would have said no. And but I said yes. And then I met her. It was published, and I met her at a book fair. And there were two agents that wanted to sign on. Well, I hadn't really even seen the book yet, and I started looking at it. Talk about terrifying. I'm like, no, this can't go out there. All of my dark secrets are there,
Yeah.
And it's like, she hasn't talked to me since, by the way. Well, the book just wouldn't die. I mean, I kept getting calls from different publishers, and I was, there's one from Page Turner got a hold of me and like, "You got to redo this." I'm like, well, okay, but I didn't really like those guys that much, and I really didn't want to do it until Citi Books got in touch with me. And I've been dealing with Luca that he just has been patient and has talked to me. And I do know that from my mistakes and my things that I had gone through that weren't mistakes, that just I had to walk through, could very well help a lot of people to know that somebody else has been at the rock bottom. I mean, I feel like I have literally crawled on the rock bottom of hell at times. And, I was in and out of the psych ward like 6 times because I wouldn't stay in there. And I'm not crazy. I mean, I just was very traumatized, you might say.
Yeah.
And I didn't understand the brain injury. And so, a lot of things happened that probably didn't need to happen. But when I started thinking about, the world reading this, I had to swallow my pride. And because it's already out there, and as was said, I needed to write, how I am now, what I got from this, and that's what I've done since then. And this book now has, up to date, and how it turns out, I guess, because it just kind of drops off in, the first book. But it's a little terrorizing, but it's I feel like it was supposed to be, and so I'm going forward with it.
Skyler, can I just say, I love what you were just talking about and how human, relatable, and raw all of that was. Because my follow-up question that I wanted to go into, and it's a perfect segue you've established, I want to talk about personal growth here for a second. And again, once I ask the question, everybody's going to be able to relate to their own particular circumstances. But as you were going through this, talk to us about, was there any moment or any time where you realized you needed to forgive yourself for the situation that had happened in order to move forward? And how did you approach that process?
Right. Well, I started using the tools that I learned in those therapy sessions that I had. I would always end my conversation, or when I was writing my book, and there's always a chance things can work out. And it's sort of the same kind of thing as fake it till you make it,
Yeah.
But I wasn't thinking that I was, I just like, there's always a chance. It still could, even though everything looks so bleak and dark. And I used to say I was born without a quitter. And so that's kind of what happened. I thought maybe it was a defective thing that was wrong with me, but I couldn't give up. And I'm glad.
Well, listen, we're very glad you didn't either. I'm telling you, this book has so much to offer. And listen, you've given so many wonderful gems already. As we close out, I could think of no better way to do so than with offering more advice. A lot of people, and this is, again, just life. This is one of those things where I think we're all under a lot of pressure right now, where we are in society and really as a country, as a world. There's a lot happening right now. There's a lot of division. Cost of living is astronomical. So people are feeling pressured from so many different areas. Well, you have acquired a tremendous amount of wisdom. If you could give a message to the quote-unquote broken, someone who feels that they themselves are broken or even in a hopeless situation, what would that message be?
That there is hope, and that you have to stop looking for somebody to tell you the answers. They're all inside of you. You just might not like to hear what they're saying. And give yourself time to heal. I mean, you have to be very logical about things, but at the same time, have empathy for yourself and others, for your growth process, because that's not an easy thing, but it's so worth it. It is just so worth it. And I would just say, don't give up. Don't even toy with it, even saying that. I mean, just get it out of your head. And every day, just the positive affirmations is very important, and you need to not get yourself into stinking thinking is what I like to call it, because it will take you down, and it will take you down fast. And so there's always hope.
People, listen, you got to head on over to Amazon and Barnes & Noble. One last time, the book is called Facing Face by Skyler Raye. Please understand, this is not just a tale of loss. It is a beacon of hope for anyone navigating their own storm. When you pick up this book, you better be prepared to be moved, to be inspired, and to be forever changed by this story, because it proves, even in our darkest hours, light can still peer through. And it's not an easy path. Sometimes, man, you got to really go through it, but you have the strength within you to do so. And light is at the end of the tunnel, man. There is hope there. And this book is just going to re-impress that and help you through so much. So you know where to go. Pick up your copies today. Skyler, this has been an absolute impressive discussion, and I truly mean it. Thank you once again for being a guest on People of Distinction.
Thank you, Benji. I appreciate it. You're awesome.